administration, faculty, staff, and students, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I pause to welcome you to this very significant and solemn ceremony where we reflect and celebrate the life and legacy of Dr. Leighton Naraine. Indeed, your presence means a great deal to us. It reminds us that he was not only well-loved, well-cherished, but certainly well-connected to the lives of those whom he served. At this point, I'm going to ask us to stand while we do the invocation. Almighty God, in whom is life unborrowed and underived, we pause to thank you for the precious gift of life and for the opportunity to celebrate the life, the contribution, and influence of Dr. Leighton Naraine. We invoke your presence with us to be the balm and the comfort to the family and all of those who have been impacted by the ministry of Dr. Leighton Naraine, and we pray that by your direction we might draw a sense of inspiration and hope in the matchless name of Jesus. Let everybody say, amen. Kindly be seated. Dr. Naraine could be described as a man of many images. And I think it's appropriate that the tributes are delivered in clusters to give us a broad sense of his multifaceted appeals and impact he made during his lifetime. The first cluster of tributes is appropriately titled The Institutional Pillar, 2002 to 2026. And the first aspect of this cluster, the institutional pillar, would focus on the educator's heart. Reflections on Dr. Naraine's years as a lecturer and his insistence in doing things properly. Mr. Irving Parry, the Department of the Environment, and Mr. Randall Thompson, Acting Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Agriculture, who are past students of Dr. Naraine, will now do that first aspect of the institutional pillar tributes. We'll invite them to come now, both of them, while they deliver reflections on the educator's heart.
A pleasant good afternoon, everyone. It is truly an honor this afternoon, though a difficult one, to stand before you here today to pay tribute to the life and legacy of the late Dr. Leighton Naraine. Dr. Naraine was many things to many people. He was a lecturer, a scientist, a mentor, a colleague, and a friend. To me personally, he was one of the most influential persons in my life's journey. I first knew Dr. Naraine as my lecturer in environmental science and geography right here at the CFBC College over 20 years ago. Like many students, I entered this classroom expecting to learn a subject, but what I gained was much more than that. Through his teaching, he helped shape the way that I saw the world. He inspired me to have a genuine love for the environment, the natural sciences, and a deep appreciation for sustainability. He made these things feel real, important, and worthy of a life's work. It was under Dr. Naraine's guidance that I began to chart my career path. At a very important stage in my life, he gave me invaluable advice on choosing a university for my bachelor's degree and selecting the right program of study. He did not just teach me in the classroom. He took an interest in my future. He saw potential in me and helped me to see it too. I remain deeply grateful for the role he played in helping to position me as a strong candidate for the Social Security Scholarship that supported my undergraduate studies. That kind of guidance and support is something you can never forget. It is a kind of impact that can change the course of life. Dr. Naraine was an exceptional lecturer, knowledgeable, passionate, disciplined, and professional. But what made him truly special was that he led by example. He did not simply speak about science and sustainability as an abstract idea. He believed in them. He lived them. He understood their importance and worked to ensure that knowledge could be translated into meaningful action. He believed strongly that science should inform policy and that education should lead to service. Years later, I had the privilege in returning to the CFBC, not as a student, but as a lecturer. Working alongside him in the environmental science program gave me an even greater appreciation for who he was. He was supportive, encouraging, and committed to the growth of both the program and the students. Over time, our relationship grew far beyond lecturer and student. Dr. Naraine became a mentor, a trusted friend, and an esteemed colleague. During my tenure at the Department of Environment, we continued to work closely together on a number of environmental policies and projects. He remained someone the department could call on for policy guidance, technical insight, and sound perspective. His expertise in biodiversity conservation, sustainable land management, climate change, pollution, and other critical areas made him an invaluable partner in national environmental work. But beyond his many achievements, I will remember Dr. Naraine for his spirit. He was kind, approachable, friendly, and easygoing. He was someone who enjoyed life and connected with people in a genuine way. He was respected not only for what he knew, but for how he treated others. Today, I speak not only with sadness, but with deep gratitude. Gratitude that I had the opportunity to learn from him, to work with him, and to call him my friend. Dr. Leighton Naraine leaves behind a legacy of knowledge, mentorship, professionalism, service, and impact. His influence will live on in the many students that he inspired, the colleagues he supported, and the work he helped to shape. I know that I am one of many persons who can say with sincerity that I am better because Dr. Naraine was a part of my life. May we honor his memory by carrying forward the values he lived so well: integrity, discipline, humility, excellence, and service. May his soul rest in eternal peace. Thank you.
Pleasant good afternoon to all. Today is a day to reflect on the life of a great man. Someone that taught me. He was a lecturer when I started the CFB college, probably 2005, 2006, thereabout. And, he was more than a lecturer to me. He was a mentor, and he became a father figure to me. I can't tell you the countless hours I spent with him at school and even at his personal home. We discussed so many things. He was very much adamant and believe in development. He always talked about agriculture and food systems, and he spent most of his time, a lot of his time, writing projects. He spent a lot of his time doing research, and he has impacted my life significantly. Even though, as he has passed, it has been difficult for me because most time anytime I'm in trouble or if I have an issue or I need some help, I call him. And it's now difficult because I don't have that person that I always had to call anymore. So it's difficult, it is tough. But today I want to celebrate his life because Dr. Naraine has been a blessing, truly, truly a blessing to me, to the students that he assisted and taught, but he also been a blessing to his colleagues, his community, and this country of St. Kitts Nevis, and even in the region. I said that man is a giant. I said Dr. Naraine truly is a giant. And I go more so that he was God sent to be a blessing for many of us. You see, how do we classify a blessing? Because many of us have received impartation of his wisdom. Our journeys in life have been impacted by him, and he remained with us. And we can also pass on all that we have learned. I wouldn't be where I am today if it wasn't for Dr. Leighton Naraine. I would not. Too much he has invested in terms of time, wisdom, knowledge in my life, and many more people, many more have been impacted. And I'm definitely thankful that today, it's not a day of, I wouldn't say it's a day of sadness for me. It's a day for me to celebrate this man, celebrate Dr. Naraine. And I was very fortunate that in his last days, when I visited him at the hospital, I went and I prayed for him. I prayed for him, and while I was there praying, the Spirit of the Lord said, it is important that he give his life to Jesus. And when I prayed and I asked him, are you ready to give your life to Christ? He said, yes. He said, yes, in his presence of his lovely and dear wife, Gloria Naraine. He said, I'm ready. I prayed for him. And the next day when I visited him after he gave his life to Christ, I saw him. He said, after you prayed for me, Randall, my spirit just feel uplifted, truly, truly strong. What happened there? The Spirit of God entered into him to strengthen him. All right? So, with all his impact in education, development, all that he has done, you know what Dr. Naraine did as well? He ended the right way, and he ended strong. This man is blessed. This man is to be celebrated. This man, I always say, is the smartest guy I know. The smartest guy I know. And with these few words, I just want to give God thanks for sending him to be a blessing to St. Kitts and Nevis. And may we continue to treasure his legacy, and may his legacy live on. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you, Mr. Parry and Mr. Thompson, for sharing with us the educator's heart. I want to pause briefly to recognize former ministers of government and our own cabinet secretary. It seems logical to me that everything flows from the heart. And having heard a few reflections and sentiments on the educator's heart, we now pivot towards another pillar of this institutional figure, the institutional builder. A tribute to Dr. Naraine's service as CFBC Vice Principal, Director and Research Manager, with emphasis on institutional strengthening, program innovation, and his contribution to the academic trajectory of the college. We will first hear from Dr. Tamo Brown, the chair of the CFBC Board of Governors, followed by Dr. Moyo Rotham, the interim president of the CFBC. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Tamo Brown.
Good day, everyone. I crave your indulgence to adopt the protocol previously established. However, in particular, I'd like to acknowledge Dr. Naraine's family and his wife, Mrs. Gloria Naraine. It is with profound reverence and a deep sense of institutional loss that I offer these words in memory of Dr. Leighton Naraine, a colleague, a scholar, a visionary, and an enduring pillar of the Clarence Fitzroy Bryant College. I can attest, as I began here as a lecturer many years ago, a colleague of Dr. Naraine's, that for more than 2 decades, Dr. Naraine considered St. Kitts home, and in that time, he dedicated the full measure of his extraordinary intellect and indomitable spirit to the advancement of this institution and the broader Caribbean community. Dr. Naraine possessed the rare scholarly disposition of translating rigorous academic theory into practical, life-sustaining application. At a critical juncture, when small island developing states face mounting pressures of climate vulnerability, water scarcity, and food insecurity, he distinguished himself as an authoritative subject matter expert and unwavering advocate for environmental sustainability. His landmark collaboration with hydroponics scientist, Mr. Stuart Laplace, elevated the Clarence Fitzroy Bryant College to its standing as the undisputed pioneer of soilless agriculture, introducing climate-smart farming methodologies into primary and secondary institutions regionally, and fundamentally reconceptualizing agriculture as a sophisticated, technology-driven discipline essential to regional survival. His scholarly ambitions for this institution were nothing short of transformative. He spearheaded this institution's initial pursuit of Green Climate Fund accreditation, an undertaking of considerable complexity, ordinarily reserved for financial institutions and multilateral developmental bodies, guided by the conviction that a Kittitian educational institution could stand among the world's foremost climate action entities, and it is work that we continue today. To enumerate his titles, lecturer, vice principal, research manager, is to capture only the outline of a man whose scholarly influence and human warmth far transcended any formal designation. He was an architect of futures, a mentor of uncommon generosity, and a colleague who elevated the intellectual and institutional standard of every endeavor he engaged in. We celebrate his life not in resignation, but in deepest gratitude. The seeds of knowledge, resilience, and sustainability that he so deliberately planted will yield their harvest for generations to come. May his soul rest in eternal peace.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. I adopt the protocol that has been established by the orator. There are some individuals whose contribution to an institution is not measured merely by the offices they held, but by the standards they established, the structures they strengthened, and the confidence they inspired in others to believe that the institution could become more than it had yet been. Dr. Naraine was such a man. At the Clarence Fitzroy Branch College, Dr. Naraine was, in essence, and may I say in the truest sense, an institutional builder. Across his service as vice principal, director, and research manager, he brought scholarly seriousness, developmental vision, and practical resolve. He did not merely serve within the college, he helped to shape it. His influence was not superficial, it was structural. He understood that a college is built not only by buildings or titles, but by systems that endure, programs that remain relevant, people who are developed with intention, and standards that are upheld even when no one is watching. Dr. Naraine gave himself to that work with uncommon fidelity. He was a scholar of rigor, but never of vanity. His learning was deep, disciplined, and purposeful. He believed that research should not sit on shelves in sterile isolation, but should animate teaching, inform planning, strengthen programs, and enlarge the credibility of the institution. That conviction was evident in the many projects and collaborations he brought to CFBC. He helped to forge meaningful scholarly linkages with distinguished academics such as Dr. Steve Whitaker during his time at Yale, Dr. Kevin Meehan at the University of Central Florida, and Professor John Rogers at Mississippi State University. Yet Dr. Naraine never approached collaboration as something distant or elite. He intentionally included local faculty such as Dr. Quincy Edwards, Miss Deetra Wharton, and former faculty member Mr. Glenroy Blanchett, ensuring that these engagements strengthened not only external partnerships, but internal capacity as well. He was always speaking about building capacity here at CFBC. He also had the gift of taking ideas with promise and giving them institutional life. This was true of CFBC offerings like the CFBC Jenkins Leadership Course, conceptualized by visionary Mr. Peter Jenkins under the presidency of Dr. Hermia Morton Anthony. Dr. Naraine helped to give that initiative shape, substance, and academic force. And in all of this, student development was central. Student involvement was key. He believed that students should not be passive recipients of knowledge, but active participants in inquiry. He rallied students to engage in action research so that teaching and learning might become more relevant and more firmly connected to lived reality. His practice was always at the intersection of theory and application, demonstrating the life use of ideas. This commitment remained evident in his final season of student engagement when he trained students to conduct research for the 2025 Music Festival. He also inspired his colleagues. He encouraged further study, further research, writing, and publication, even amid the hustle and bustle of institutional life. And when achievements came, whether a degree, a publication, or a scholarly presentation, he rejoiced with genuine generosity. He saw each individual gain, not merely as personal advancement, but as part of the larger ascent of the college. Every strengthened lecturer strengthened CFBC. Every publication enhanced not only a CV, but the research profile of CFBC. Every academic gain helped to move the college closer to accreditation readiness. He was instrumental in the crafting of the college's first employee evaluation form at a time when many institutions did not yet have such a mechanism in place. He understood that institutional excellence requires not only vision, but frameworks, processes, and instruments that translate vision into practice. For nearly 11 years, he served as Director of Employee and Program Development and carried what was for most of that period the weight of a one-man department. When Mr. Fitzroy Wilkin joined him and worked closely alongside him, the two formed a formidable team, making waves of institutional strengthening, staff development, program refinement, research mobilization, and accreditation-oriented advancement. Dr. Naraine also saw clearly that the future of institutional development would require the college to engage emerging global frameworks with seriousness. In that regard, he led in Green Climate Fund initiatives, recognizing this as a viable avenue through which gaps might be closed at CFBC and that it could be elevated on a global level. He contributed to gap closing documents that will continue to support the college's Green Climate Fund work under the current board leadership of Dr. Tamu Petrie-Brown. He knew how to communicate with colleagues in a manner that inspired action. He did not depend on flamboyance. The relationships he forged were often quiet, but they were durable and effective. He understood that institutions move not only by plans and policies, but by trust, credibility, and the patient work of persuasion. There was also in him an eclectic humanity that made him all the more memorable. He could move from weighty academic and policy discussions to moments of ease and camaraderie. He knew how to kick back with Mr. Ellsworth Diamond back in the day, and he engaged staff such as Marcia Basu and former Dean Miss Gail Gray-Phillip with genuine interests on matters related to culinary and hospitality involvement and research, respectively. He recognized that institutional life is enriched by the full range of disciplines, personalities, and contributions that give a college its texture and strength. He was, too, the Lone Ranger in many respects when it came to liaising with numerous government entities on countless consultations of national and regional significance. He read and reviewed voluminous documents, provided substantive feedback, and represented the college with intellectual seriousness and civic responsibility. And it must be said with honesty and diplomacy that his absence has created a real void. This is not to suggest any unwillingness on the part of CFBC to engage in national consultations. Quite the contrary. CFBC remains committed to national service and policy partnership, but the institution has long operated under constraints of manpower, and that challenge has now become even more acute. One may therefore hope that the support necessary to rebuild this capacity be recognized as an investment, not merely in CFBC, but national development itself. Yet, for all his academic strength and strategic depth, Dr. Naraine remained humane and unpretentious. He inspired without belittling, corrected without humiliating, and elevated not only conversations, but people. He made serious intellectual work feel attainable, even for ordinary, overextended, hard-working academicians. So to speak of Dr. Naraine is to speak of more than a former vice principal, a former director, or a former research manager. It is to speak of a builder of systems, a cultivator of academic culture, a guardian of standards, and a quiet but formidable force in the shaping of Clarence Fitzroy Brand College. His legacy lives on in the structures he helped to form, in the collaborations he fostered, in the students he engaged, in the colleagues he encouraged, and in the institutional confidence he helped to grow. We honor him with gratitude for work that was thoughtful, exacting, and fruitful. CFBC is stronger because he served here, and many among us stand taller because he believed that we and this institution could rise. May his memory remain a blessing, and may the college he helped to build, the Clarence Fitzroy Brand College, continue the work in a manner worthy of his investment. Thank you. As I am up and running and have the courage, I will give my personal tribute. For me, Dr. Leighton Naraine was not only a distinguished colleague and institutional builder, he was a mentor in the truest sense of that word. He took me under his wing, and on one of the earlier clear demonstrations of this was prior to 2012, when he informed the then board that I was his co-chair on the completion of the first CFBC institutional self-study, which we completed together in 2015 with the support of Mr. Osman Petty, who drafted the accompanying procedures manual. Even then, he was teaching me by trust, by example, and by inclusion. As someone who always valued discipline, it was not difficult for me to embrace his guidance and to sit at his feet. He taught me, and I learned from him a great deal about writing in its different forms, especially the language of policy writing and the crafting of frameworks. But beyond technique, he taught me temperament. He taught me how to regulate emotion in writing, how to exercise restraint, and how sometimes the wisest response is no immediate response at all. Whenever I called him about a problematic email, he would often say, "Doc, respond tomorrow." That single counsel became a discipline, and over time, it became a grace. It helped me to remain even-keeled, to avoid causing injury by haste, and to extend patience to others. It is a practice I have kept, and one for which I remain deeply grateful. When I assumed the position of the Vice President of Academic and Student Affairs, he also schooled me in one of the realities of organizational life. He taught me that in every institution, there are helpers, there are saboteurs, and there are those who do nothing. He helped me to recognize the traits of saboteurs, to discern those who genuinely cared, and to navigate those who might be grudgeful while still being fair, keeping the institution at heart and proceeding carefully. From him, I learned how to execute my duties with gravity, but not allow anyone to walk over me. I learned, too, how to keep a poker face and not wear my emotions on my sleeve. He was my professional and academic confidant. He saw things in me before I fully recognized them in myself, and with what I can only describe as a prophet's tongue, he spoke of milestones that have since come to pass. I still hold close to one yet to be fulfilled outside the walls of CFBC. His name slipped off my tongue so often, and with such intensity, that my family came to know of him, and without ever meeting him. When parents, especially my mother, was distraught at the news, my siblings understood the depth of my pain, and my son indicated that Dr. Naraine ought to be eulogized into perpetuity. My family knew the man who mentored me because they knew what his mentorship made possible for me. He praised me for my many traits, including my faith, but I know that whatever strength he saw in me was sharpened by the influence of a man who himself did not speak ill of others, who was fair and reasonable, impeccable in his work ethic, and deeply devoted to family. He would speak of Gloria and his mother and allude with warmth to family and others he loved. That tenderness was part of his greatness. We shared many things, even medical stories and pictures of ourselves in allergy-ridden states. And those ordinary human moments remain precious to me because they reflect the gentleness and the trust that marked our relationship. Today I speak in peace because I told him on numerous occasions how much he meant to me. The last, especially deep exchange we had was in 2025 when he praised my writing. I used that moment to tell him plainly that he had watered my giftings, sharpened them, and helped to make me who I am today through his mentorship and guidance. True to form, he shyly accepted the compliment. I honor him with gratitude, affection, and peace. His imprint on my life is indelible, and I shall carry it always. Thank you.
Sound, satisfying, solid sentiments on Dr. Naraine. We pause to thank our beloved President, Dr. Moya Rotham, and Dr. Tamu Brown, the chair of the board, for those sentiments shared. I'm glad that you took the cue. Although this is a very solemn moment, the word celebrate sounds like solemn. So it's a time for us to applaud the influence, applaud his legacy and life, and it's quite in order to do it, as today we're celebrating. There's no doubt that the influence of Dr. Naraine extended way beyond the world of this institution. And so it's appropriate that we give a snapshot of how he influenced the nation and indeed the region. And so we turn to the second set of tributes, rightly titled the National and Regional Standard Bearer. We will now invite Mr. Stuart Laplace, the director, the St. Kitts Nevis Bureau of Standards and Multipurpose Lab, past CFBC Cape biology lecturer. This is a tribute to Dr. Naraine's contribution as a lecturer, CXC marker, assistant chief examiner, and certainly an upholder of regional academic standards. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Stuart Laplace.
Good afternoon, all. And allow me to re-establish the established protocol, except to say greetings and welcome, and my deepest condolences to the family, Dr. Naraine, especially his wife, Mrs. Gloria Naraine. Now, I tried to write a speech for Dr. Naraine several times, and I recognize that I've spent so much time with Dr. Naraine that we may be here all day. So I decided to just let it flow. So I will start in 2008, when I got here as a lecturer in the science department. The very first person that approached me was Dr. Naraine, and he was giving me an unfiltered snapshot of the situation that was happening here in the department. So he reminded me that I didn't tell you all this for you to get daunted, but to encourage you that you have some very large shoes to fill, and we're here to support you every step of the way. Now, when he returned at the end, when all of the students would have written their exams, he asked me, how was it? I said, Doc, to be honest with you, I'm not sure, because I haven't established how to pitch at this level. So he said, you know what? I think you need to come and mark at the CXC Center. So I said, sure, sign me up. So he signed me up. When I think he was signing me up for biology, he was actually signing me up for environmental science, which is a course that he taught. So to my surprise, I ended up as my very first installment with the CXC family to mark environmental science. So when I got there, I did not realize that Dr. Naraine had such large shoes at the center. He was actually the person in charge of all the internal assessments in the Caribbean. So he introduced me to the team, and then he said, from next year we will have some excellent projects coming out of St. Kitts, which will set the standard and the pace for the rest of the Caribbean. Everyone more or less, gave us a slight laugh because, of course, everybody would think that the institution has the best results. So when we came back, he said to me like this, he said, with all this research that we're doing, it has no business being on a shelf. I don't believe in research being shelved. I think research should be shared. So we're not going to publish this information, but we're going to expose the students to it, after which we're going to take it regionally. So we first started out with the environmental science group, and that year we had some very significant showings across the region in terms of top results. As a matter of fact, from that year, St. Kitts and Nevis set the trend in terms of excellence at the Cape level for environmental science, achieving the top exemplars in terms of projects across the region. So technically, St. Kitts was undefeated for the entire time, and I still feel like up to today, there still would be. And I could remember a particular student, Miguel Thomas. I think he's the principal for the Virtual High School now. He had a very exceptional internal assessment, full score across the board. And we were looking at assisting the University of the West Indies in the agricultural program with a book. So myself, Dr. Naraine, Professor Kevin Meehan, we started putting pieces together for this book. And Dr. Naraine came and he said, we're going to put a student in this book as well. So I'm saying, well, okay, let's see who we're going to use. He said, well, I think we need to use Miguel Thomas's work and recognize him. And that was the kind of man Dr. Naraine was. He was selfless. He believed in students. He always spoke highly of the students that he taught. And as I look at the program, I see quite a few of them here who he always speak highly of. Minister Joel Clark, Mr. Parry, Randall Thompson, Meshach Alford. He often spoke about Yushena Jeffers. These are the names that you keep hearing over and over with a very high sense of pride. So I'm glad to see that persons would have recognized that. Now, additionally, the other territories ended up asking Dr. Naraine for assistance, and there was like, can you help us with getting our projects up to par? So his response was, sure, but in St. Kitts we use a very high standard in terms of academics. We do not accept mediocrity. So if you guys need our assistance, then you would have to be fully committed, which they did. And they came close over the years, but we remained the institution that excelled and keep on excelling. Now, moving from the marking, as Dr. Naraine was one of one, irreplaceable, we go into the regional projects. We wrote a lot of projects across the region. We traveled extensively to implement in countries from Trinidad, Guyana, come all the way up the chain. We met with a lot of scholars as well, Guyana, Nawi, the late Dr. Udiu. I think what was most rewarding for me was being able to see Naraine navigate between the politicians, the technocrats, as well as the teachers and the students. He was a teacher by heart. He often always found himself back into the classroom, no matter what posts he was given here at CFBC, he would always find a way to end back into the classroom, even to teach a a session, a course, and he was always keeping me as well involved. Now, he approached me in 2011 and said, you know what, I think we need to write a curriculum for agricultural studies. And we also need to pair it with some other academic institutions so students can do a 2+2 arrangement. So we started out with the program with the help of Professor Mihan. We were tailoring it to the University of Central Florida, as well as Dalhousie and UE. We were able, under Dr. Naraine's guidance, to get 2 students back-to-back at Dalhousie University in the same 2+2 arrangement, and they were able to attain their bachelor's degree after only spending 2 years. So that spoke to his level of assertion in terms of ensuring that students get the best out of him and also got the best out of us as lecturers. He often reminded us that we're not here more or less to teach, but we're here to educate. He always ensured that when it relates to personal accomplishments, persons should always not just think about what that can do for you, but what it can do for the nation as a whole. Now, I think Dr. Naraine would be severely missed, and recently I found myself even mentioning his name in a meeting, because as some of the colleagues who spoke before me said, he was the go-to person when we wanted insights on certain things, and I find myself sending him a message or about to press send and recognizing that he's no longer with us. So I would end here by saying that the mark that Dr. Naraine left, not only nationally, but regionally, is immeasurable. And I don't think that we would have a replacement for him, and I don't think that both CFBC and CXC would be the same, knowing that he's no longer here to push and guide the agendas, bring the jokes and the laughters to the other examiners across the region, and to set the standard in terms of the student first, in terms of marking, when we're looking at the work, and sharing experiences with various territories in learning how to improve the students on a whole. So even though he was pro-CFBC, he was still pro-Caribbean, pro-agriculture. And I would close by giving you a small anecdote of how instrumental he was with the agricultural program here. When we wanted to build a greenhouse, initially here we were denied. And I didn't tell him that I was denied. I went to him as the second person in charge. And he said to me like this. He said, well, it's better to ask for forgiveness than to not try at all. So he said, we're going to build it in the summer, and when this school semester comes around, persons would look at the work that's been done, and they would turn any anger or resentment into praises. So I saw that in action when this first one behind me here went up, and I saw the mastery at work where Dr. Naraine invited the ambassador for OAS on the compound to look at the house and the project, because we had plants and everything already going. And I also remember the president walking up these very same stairs on this pathway, and I know she was coming to give me a mouthful, but then she was intercepted by the OS ambassador at the time, giving commendations and praises in terms of her vision and insight. And then I looked over at Dr. Naraine and he just smiled and nodded his head like, I told you so. So I think I would close there. As I said, I could speak all day on various situations and anecdotes, but I would like to say that I will truly miss him. And I still can't believe and accept that he's no longer with us. And thanks to everyone who have shared and who will be sharing this afternoon in the impact that he made on their life. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Laplace. We're still looking at the cluster of tributes, the national and regional standard bearer. The second aspect of Dr. Naraine here made me smile, because for the many, many years I knew him, there are two things that I recall. He was very unassuming and always smiling. And it's interesting that his works spoke volumes as much as his voice did. And so the following aspect is a voice for the Federation, a tribute regarding his work in national development and sectoral initiatives. This will be done by the Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Education, Mrs. Lisa Romain Pestana. Ladies and gentlemen, Permanent Secretary Pestana.
Good afternoon, everyone. Chair, please permit me to adopt the protocol that has been so ably established. However, I would like to bring condolences on behalf of the Minister of Education, the Honorable Dr. Jeffrey Hanley, to Dr. Naraine's wife and his family, and to his CFBC family. It is certainly with a heavy heart, yet with deep gratitude, to honor the life and legacy of Dr. Leighton Naraine, a distinguished educator, visionary leader, and devoted servant to national and regional development. Now, those who would have gone before me would speak personally about their interactions with Dr. Leighton Naraine. I wasn't so privileged to have so many years with him. But I can say this much, that the few that I had, especially in this post, were extremely impactful. Dr. Naraine's contribution to education and public life was marked by an unwavering commitment to excellence and integrity and service. He was truly a man of his word, and he gave everything that he possibly could give at every turn that he was asked to. He believed deeply in the transformative power of education and worked assiduously to strengthen this very same institution and others within this federation and abroad. He uplifted individuals. He ensured that he was able to make them more than they thought they could be. And you heard several testimonies towards that today. And he expanded opportunities for generations to come. His leadership was not defined by authority, but by wisdom, humility, and his desire to truly leave things better than he found them. Dr. Naraine was an advocate for a greener St. Kitts and Nevis, and spent his life ensuring that he promoted good practices that led to this outcome. When you look around this campus and beyond, you realize his service, you realize his influence as it pertains to agriculture. He gave everything he could. I remember when I became permanent secretary within the Ministry of Education, Dr. Naraine made it his business to come and visit me. He felt that I needed to understand what CFBC was. I needed that level of institutional knowledge. He also wanted me to understand all of the varying projects that he had been a part of. Projects to push St. Kitts in a direction where we can truly say that this country is a greener country, that this country's environmental thrust is such that it can sustain us for generations to come. And so he shared multiple documents. He not only shared those documents, but he also asked for our support. And as a ministry, we extended that support to him. His love for Greener Federation permeated every sector of the education system, every sector, from our early childhood to primary school to secondary school and straight into our post-secondary institutions, and of course, CFBC. He shared his knowledge, his wealth of knowledge. He ensured that the projects that we worked on were backed by sound information. So it wasn't just doing something for doing its sake, but we had all of the particular data and information to drive the decisions that we would make. Words cannot adequately express the gratitude that we as a ministry have for him and for his work. Those who worked alongside him felt that Dr. Naraine will be remembered for his calm demeanor. As persons said before, whenever you met him, you felt like the sun was radiating right next to you. He smiled all the time and was extremely positive. Even when he was serious, even something didn't go his way, he still had a very positive outlook. And he made you feel that anything and everything was achievable. And I want to say a huge thank you to his family, because we talk about his service, but we forget to realize that he has a family who he would have given up time with in order to serve us. So I want you to give them a round of applause, please. It was evident to me that he had to have had that level of support at home in order for him to give his best here at CFBC and on the regional stage and international stage as well. As I said before, my interactions with him were always positive. And I always look forward to having, whether our brief or long discussions about any of the environmental projects that he was working on. He made me even consider those that I would need to do in my home. So for him, it wasn't about the scholarly aspect alone, but he felt that, listen, for us to truly say we are environmentally conscious, we have to take it into our households. And that is the legacy I think he leaves with us. His influence in the classroom was evident by his students that came here and testified. So I don't need to say much more because they gave testimony to the work that he would have done. And when you look at the paths that they would have chosen, you know he did an excellent job. And so in his absence, I think we need to applaud his work. He not only shaped standards when we were looking at the formation of CFBC and the transition from CFBC being another institution, like a secondary institution, but into a more tertiary institution. He made sure that that transition was one that he was able to not only explore, but he was able to utilize the necessary information from his colleagues, from regional examples of a tertiary institution, to craft a document that would guide the Ministry of Education through its next steps. And we thank him greatly for that. Because as you look around you, you might see buildings, but it's greater than that. The heart of CFBC was infused by Dr. Naraine, and we are extremely appreciative. While we mourn his passing, we also celebrate a life that was purposeful and impactful. Dr. Naraine leaves behind a legacy that will continue to guide and inspire us. A reminder that true leadership is a measure not by position, not by title, not by eloquent speech, but by service, by character, and lasting contribution. If Dr. Naraine said it to you, you could put your neck on a block that it was so. And so those are some of the legacies, I think, for us within these walls, I would like us to take. And not just take, but incorporate in our daily lives. He has left some immense shoes to fill, and he will be greatly missed by the education fraternity. On behalf of the Ministry of Education and on my own behalf, I extend sincere condolences to his family, colleagues and friends, and the entire Clarence Fitzroy Bryant College community. May you find comfort in cherished memories and strength in knowing that his work endures. And if there's one thing I would like you to do to make sure that his legacy lives on, take just one page out of his book. May his soul rest in eternal peace. Thank you.
And we thank you too. And we thank you too, Permanent Secretary Pistana. In fleshing out Dr. Naraine's portrait as a national and regional standard bearer, we're now going to swing the telescope on one final tribute in this cluster, the environmental steward. Here we will listen to reflections on his interdisciplinary work in sustainable agriculture, climate change education, and community resilience. And I'll now call to the podium the Honorable Senator, Dr. Joel Clark, Minister of Sustainable Development, Environment and Climate Action, and Constituency Empowerment, and significantly, Dr. Naraine's past student. Ladies and gentlemen, Senator Dr. Joel Clark.
Thank you so much. Allow me to, of course, adopt the protocol, but to acknowledge the presence of our senior minister, my cabinet colleague, Dr. Denzel Douglas, and former member of parliament, Mr. Ricky Skerritt, president, senior officials in the government who are here, and of course, to the family of Dr. Naraine, sincere condolences from me and from the Ministries of Sustainable Development, Environment, Climate Action, and Constituency Empowerment. The life of Dr. Naraine, our teacher, lecturer, and advocate, is one to be celebrated, honored, and exemplified. His dedication to service, to his passions, education, environmental stewardship and advocacy, and youth empowerment, and further, his insistence that on sharing this sense of commitment, extending it outward to embrace and uplift and empower all the people within his orbit and the institutions under his leadership are those rare finds that we have to celebrate and have to honor as truly great. I had the pleasure of learning from, of knowing and working with Dr. Naraine. His vocation to environmental advocacy, to academia, led to many instances of him partnering with the ministries I now lead, Sustainable Development, Environment, et al. And the partnership continued in such a way that it impacted the work we did as a ministry, how we engaged with community, and of course, how we engage with this institution. But it started long before, personally, with Mr. Naraine as our teacher. And I say our because he has molded a cohort of environmental advocates, of stewards who boldly defend our environment here in St. Kitts and Nevis, and we must acknowledge this. So it's not an exaggeration for me to say that the environmental fabric of our federation is richer and stronger because of Dr. Naraine's contribution. As a student, in whatever year that was, Dr. Naraine was finally our fourth geography teacher. We had a little rough start, but when he came to us, he was known as our great explainer. Because if you know Dr. Naraine, and if you know him well, he can explain. And he did so in a way that taught us as geography students who are still trying to find our way in the environmental space, the importance of what we were learning, not just to pass our CAPE subjects, but to contribute significantly to St. Kitts and Nevis. And that's how he took us beyond the classroom to the beaches. I think the first time I ever went on North Friars Bay and stayed any period on that beach was with Dr. Naraine. The first time we did a lot of many firsts was with Dr. Naraine, and it wasn't to fulfill the requirements of our internal assessments, but to learn and understand how humanity and nature were connected. And during that transition period, when you finish your studies or you finish your university degree and you didn't know where you needed to go as a student, Dr. Naraine was there as our guide. He helped us make sense of our environmental studies, of what a degree on paper meant for a geographer, of how we had purpose and our opportunities would be boundless if we understood the path. Dr. Naraine helped us through consultancies, publications, research that made sense, turning your environmental studies and your lessons into an income, and also turning it into community work. He continued his support personally through the work in the ministry. And I dare say, at every event, every launch, every consultation, there was one face that I knew I would see in the audience, and that would be Dr. Naraine. And after every presentation, there's that one handshake and smile and warm hug that would say, "I'm so proud of you." It was Dr. Naraine. And if I'm honest, the only time in the 20-plus years that I've known Dr. Naraine that I saw him slightly angry, and Madam President would contest to this, would confirm this rather, is we had a conversation at the ministry about our PROMA project. I couldn't understand why Dr. Naraine, of all persons in the world, would be angry. Oh, you're shaking your head, yes. And I knew that it clearly had to be a misunderstanding because Dr. Naraine does not get angry. But after a tense 1.5-hour discussion, what happened? Hugs, handshakes, we're going to work it out. And that was the true nature of Dr. Naraine. It was all for the environment. I recall also that Dr. Naraine taught you so many things outside of the classroom. One day he took a few of us to his home. He was constructing his house. And we got a lesson in how to manage projects, construction projects, counting even a very nail, the cost of a nail. And I was like, "Dr. Naraine, seriously?" And he said, "Yes. And this lesson is you're going to take this lesson with your consultancy projects and anything else that you're doing, understanding cost, understanding how it contributes to the success of a project." And so every moment was an opportunity for him to share, for him to teach, and for him to transfer knowledge to his students. And he was also our great problem solver. There was no problem that Dr. Naraine could not help you work out, sit on for a few, or tell you this is the best way to do it, how to maneuver politics, development, community, and your true passion, which is the environment, and how to make sense of it. And for all these moments, from our teacher, our lecturer, our in the field guide our transition to a professional space, and to the person who made loving and caring and defending the environment the true part of our souls, I have to say that, Dr. Naraine, you will be missed forever. Not just from our ministry, from CFBC, from our community groups, but from the nation. We are all products of his vision, of his passion, of his commitment. And if we do one thing, we have to take this passion that he had for the environment and share it with others. Because St. Kitts is a better place. St. Kitts and Nevis, because of his commitment to us. So thank you to Guyana for lending him to us for so long. And let's carry on his tradition of protecting and fiercely defending the environment and development here. Thank you.
Senator Dr. Joel Clark, kindly receive our heartfelt thanks. At this moment, ladies and gentlemen, we will segue into audio and video tributes, truly reflective of Dr. Naraine, who was a man of many images.
Hi, everybody. Greetings to the family and friends of my dearly departed friend Leighton Naraine. I want to make a tribute to him, first with a song and then with a testimonial. And this song is one I wrote in 2012 called Eat What You Grow. But I play it now because it was really Leighton that inspired the song, and we were working together on a project, a community outreach, sustainable agriculture project called Take 5, where people would bring in containers and we would give them up to 5 different types of plants that had been seedlings propagated at the college, Clarence Fitzroy Bryan College. And we had a competition among schools that was won by the Cecile Brown School out of Nevis, and we needed a theme song for the project, so I wrote this, but it was Leighton that kind of pushed me to do it. So here you go. Grow what you eat, children, and eat what you grow. You can be sure of one thing, you're gonna reap what you sow. So sow some corn, ground provisions, seasoned peppers are nice. Let me see some eggplants and Guyana rice. I wanna see fruit in the fruit trees, mangoes and citrus and soursop growing, pumpkin and melon running all through the yard. You know it ain't hard to eat what you grow, children. Grow what you eat, children. Insecurity is growing worse every day. 1 billion are hungry. It doesn't have to be this way. Now we're chanting down Monsanto. Seeds from genetically modified plants won't do. Rasta science from the circle of life, from death brings life anew. Eat what you grow, children. Grow what you eat, children. Eat what you grow, children. Grow what you eat, children.
As I mourn the profound loss of Dr. Naraine and reflect on the journey we shared, I see a colleague who carried emotional weight, dignity, and deep respect, not only for self, but for others. Dr. Naraine's peaceful strength, unwavering dedication, and deep love for CFBC have helped to shape the very soul of our institution. His passing has torn from us one of CFBC's most steadfast supporters, a pillar in our structure, and a guardian of our institutional standards. He served with a quiet passion that spoke louder than any proclamation. His commitment to institutional excellence was not merely professional, it was personal. He believed in getting it right the first time, not for recognition, but because excellence was his way of honoring the institution he represented and cherished. What made Dr. Naraine extraordinary was the grace with which he carried his authority. He blended respect with conviction, humility with principle, and firmness with kindness. He celebrated others easily and generously, always ready to support, guide, and uplift. It was impossible to work with him without feeling valued. He earned the love and respect of those who interacted with him, not through grand gestures, but through consistency, integrity, humility, and his quiet strength. Perhaps this is one of the reasons why it was impossible to know him and not respect him. For me, Dr. Naraine was more than a colleague. He was one of the living archives of CFBC's genesis, a CFBC tree that bore many branches, the CFBC vine that bore fruit in every space it occupied. He was a man with memories of the stories, the struggles, the triumphs, and the lessons that shaped CFBC. He was a resource of immeasurable worth, a man etched into every chapter of the institution's development. Today, we share the loss of a colleague, a mentor, a friend, and a man whose presence made CFBC better because he was always reliable, always resourceful, always willing to assist in any way possible. I remember his sense of humor and his spark of excitement whenever we were selected to take on a new challenge, whether it was a project, a program, or an opportunity to represent CFBC. His enthusiasm made even the most difficult tasks feel achievable. He had a way of making work feel purposeful by reminding me of the privilege CFBC had to have both of us working together. As we celebrate his life, the standards he upheld, and the legacy he leaves behind, let us honor him by upholding the values he embodied and continuing the work he cared so deeply about. May his memory remain a guiding light for CFBC today, tomorrow, and for generations to come. And may his soul rest in eternal peace.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, we will hear the reading of some written tributes, which will be done by the Vice President, Wanda Hughes, and I will be assisting her.
Good afternoon, everyone. The first tribute is that of Mrs. Gloria Naraine, Dr. Naraine's wife of 42 years. I've been asked to share a few words about my husband, Leighton, and I am overwhelmed with memories of his kindness, generosity, and love. He was a man who lived his life with purpose and compassion, always putting others first. As a dedicated professor, he touched countless lives, and his colleagues admired and respected him deeply. But it was his family and close friends who truly knew the depth of his love, his loyalty, and his unwavering support. Leighton had a special gift for lifting people up and making them feel seen, heard, and valued. He never spoke ill of anyone, only words of encouragement, understanding, and kindness. He was a true original, a man of great integrity, humility, and quiet strength. He also had a wonderful sense of humor that stayed with him in every situation. And it was one of the many things that made people love being around him. I am deeply grateful for the 42 incredible years we shared together. Those years were filled with love, laughter, and so many beautiful memories that I will carry with me forever. Although my heart is broken, I find comfort in knowing that Leighton has left behind a legacy of love and kindness that will continue to inspire all of us. Thank you for being here today and for celebrating his life and the love he shared with so many of us. The love we shared does not end here. It lives on in my heart, in the lives he touched, and in every memory that will stay with us forever. And in that love, he will always remain with us.
From Dr. S. Owen, past chair, CFBC Board of Governors. Dr. Leighton Naraine was a scholar and friend. His passion for education, sustainability, and strategy was true and evident in his years of dedication to and through the Clarence Fitzroy Bryant College. I had the distinct honor of working with him during my tenure as a member and chair of the Board of Governors, and knew him personally through mutual friends and the love of golf he shared with my mother and brother. I can say without hesitation, on all counts, that his contribution was invaluable and his legacy will live on for generations to come. To quote Derek Walcott's poem, "Love After Love," the time will come when, with elation, you will greet yourself arriving at your own door, in your own mirror, and each will smile at the other's welcome and say, "Sit here, eat." You will love again the stranger who was yourself. Give wine, give bread, give back your heart to itself, to the stranger who has loved you all your life, whom you ignored for another, who knows you by heart. Take down the love letters from the bookshelf, the photographs, the desperate notes. Peel your own image from the mirror. Sit, feast on your life. I extend my heartfelt condolences to Dr. Naraine's family and dear friends.
From Board Governor and the Chair of the CFBC Accreditation Committee, Ms. Alicia Pemberton. Although I did not work with Dr. Naraine as long as many of the faculty members and staff, in the short time we collaborated, he was consistently reliable, resourceful, and always willing to assist in any way possible. My journey as chair of the Accreditation Committee would not have been the same without Dr. Naraine's guidance, which was both impeccable and invaluable. Even in his brief tenure, the engagements we shared demonstrated his dedication and distinction in service. When I learned of Dr. Naraine's passing, I was in disbelief and shocked, but I could not help but reflect on the profound loss to the Accreditation Committee and to CFBC as a whole. We have lost an institutional memory that cannot be replaced, a true void in our community. Walk good, Dr. Naraine. You have now been given your wings.
From Devon Rao, Executive Director, Caribbean Center for Development Administration, CARICAD. Please accept the deepest and sincerest condolences of the board and staff of CARICAD on the passing of Dr. Leighton Naraine, Research Manager of the Clarence Fitzroy Bryant College. News of his transition has touched us profoundly. Though we met him only last year, he left an impression of uncommon depth, warmth, and purpose. From our very first engagement, it was clear that Dr. Naraine was both a teacher and a continuous learner, someone who approached his work with a rare blend of intellectual sharpness, humility, and genuine joy. The initiatives he created and nurtured at the college spoke not only to his technical skill, but also to his belief in possibility. He carried out his responsibilities with what felt like youthful exuberance, perhaps even glee, as he imagined new solutions and then watched them come alive in the service of the institution and its students. As much as CARICAD was there to support the development of the college's strategic plan, at times we felt that we were learning from Dr. Naraine than he from us. His mind moved quickly, his thoughts were incisive, and there were moments when it seemed that he was leading us, even as we sought to guide the process. His passing leaves a significant gap, not only within the college, but we believe across the region. He lived with humility, shared his knowledge generously, and inspired us with his commitment to teaching, mentoring, and transferring knowledge to those with or without his years of experience. It is a rare gift to encounter someone who embodies both excellence and grace so fully. We will miss him, though our acquaintance was brief. His legacy, no doubt, will continue to shape the college and the many lives he touched. Please know that our thoughts and prayers are with his family, the college community, his friends, and all who had the privilege of working alongside him.
From Dr. Samantha Fox, past CFBC Director of Student Services. I was deeply saddened to hear of the passing of Dr. Leighton Naraine. I had the privilege of working with him during my time as Director of Student Services, and I will always remember him as a thoughtful, precise, and principled leader. Dr. Naraine believed strongly in using data to guide his decisions, approaching both big and small matters with care and integrity. He was also a dedicated supporter of our students, showing up for their events, advocating for their needs, and challenging them to ensure their growth and development. On a personal level, he was a trusted professional confidant and a supporter of my doctoral research, and his encouragement and advice meant a great deal to me. Dr. Naraine will be greatly missed, and my thoughts are with his family, friends, and all who were impacted by his life and work. His legacy will continue through the many lives he touched.
From Dr. Randolyn Dennis Bratcher, Principal Nursing Officer, past Dean of the CFBC Division of Health Sciences, and nurse educator. Dr. Leighton Naraine was a man of unwavering dedication to higher education and to the Clarence Fitzroy Bryant College, which is served with distinction and quiet passion. I had the privilege of working alongside him during my tenure as a lecturer and then Dean of the Division of Health Sciences, and I witnessed firsthand his commitment to ensuring that the institution met the highest regional and international standards. During the 2019 University of West Indies monitoring visit for the Bachelor of Science in Nursing program, Dr. Naraine attended every session, contributed with authority and grace, and was the first to call and offer his congratulations when we passed. He celebrated others as generously as he served the institution. Dr. Naraine will be remembered not only for what he built, but also for making those around him feel valued, supported, and never alone in the work. We shared a remarkable professional relationship, and his absence is deeply felt.
From Jackie Ferracho Williams, past and current CFBC Vice President, Finance and Administration. I remember Dr. Leighton Naraine as a sincere and a dedicated professional, known for his commitment to academic rigor and evidence-based research. While firmly grounded in academia, he generously applied his knowledge and expertise to the upliftment and advancement of the people of St. Kitts and Nevis and the wider Caribbean, particularly in areas such as environmental stewardship, ecology, and sustainable development. Dr. Naraine was a valued resource whose expertise was readily shared in service to the college and to both the public and private sectors. During his distinguished tenure at the Clarence Fitzroy Bryant College, Dr. Naraine developed a deep knowledge of the institution's history and evolution. I recall him sharing with me many of the developments the college had undergone over the years. Having first joined the CFBC team in 2014, I found these conversations especially meaningful as they provided valuable historical insight and perspective. In my interactions with Dr. Naraine, I found him to be courteous, yet forthright, always striving for the continued growth and improvement of the college, and committed to applying his knowledge and experience for the upliftment of the society in which he lived. His distinguished service, commitment to scholarship, and dedication to national and regional development will remain an enduring part of the legacy he leaves behind.
From Dean Dr. Joycelyn Archibald Pennyfeather, Teacher Education. On behalf of the Division of Teacher Education, I extend our sincere condolences to Mrs. Naraine and family, as well as to the entire CFBC community mourning his untimely passing. Having had the privilege of working and collaborating with him since 2012, I can personally attest to his professionalism, integrity, and unwavering commitment, particularly regarding quality assurance and policy development, which have made significant contributions to our institution. His absence is keenly felt by all who knew him, and his legacy will remain an enduring inspiration. Psalm 34:18 notes, "The Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit." And Matthew 5:4 promises, "Blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted." These scriptures are offered in hope that they provide strength and solace to those grieving the loss of our esteemed colleague and friend, Dr. Leighton Naraine. In moments of profound sadness, such passages can serve as a source of comfort and hope. And those of us seeking peace and reassurance may find reflection on these verses beneficial. May you find comfort and peace in this difficult time. God bless.
From Dr. Quincy Edwards, CFBC Cape Chemistry Lecturer. During 2009, I was afforded the opportunity to work as an apprentice teaching Cape Environmental Science under the supervision of Dr. Leighton Naraine. And through this, we developed a lifelong friendship and mentorship. With Dr. Naraine's encouragement and recommendation, I was also afforded the opportunity to work alongside him at the Caribbean Examinations Council, marking sessions in Barbados for many years. There, Dr. Naraine was Assistant Chief Examiner for Cape Environmental Science, serving with his usual high level of integrity and professionalism. During marking sessions, he provided clear expectations, proper guidance, and the required psychosocial support, thereby ensuring everyone understood their roles and responsibilities, which, in turn, minimized confusion and enhanced consistency in marking. In addition, Dr. Naraine readily shared his academic and scholarly knowledge at the CFBC and throughout the wider region. For instance, we collaborated on several research projects at the CFBC and co-authored a peer-reviewed scientific publication on ambient air pollution in St. Kitts and Nevis. Dr. Naraine will be greatly missed by his colleagues at the CFBC and the CXC.
From Ms. Deetra Wharton, past student and Cape Environmental Science lecturer. Not all teachers touch your life in a meaningful way, but the rare ones do, and leave lasting impressions that shape who you become. Dr. Naraine was certainly one of those rare ones. He was someone whose kindness and generosity spoke louder than any title or achievement. What set him apart as well was a genuine way he connected with us, his students. He had a gift for making complex ideas relatable and for making us feel capable. He didn't just teach, he befriended us. That sense of mutual respect created an environment where learning felt natural, engaging, and inspiring. This was something I admired then and which I strive to imitate in my own classroom. I often think back to our field work, what I fondly call adventures. Those experiences went far beyond academics. There were moments of discovery, laughter, and growth. Even now, I find myself sharing those stories with my own students, passing on a piece of Dr. Naraine's legacy without even realizing it at times. I also appreciate him for the way he took me under his wing when he asked me to come and work with him here at CFBC. He didn't just teach me the mechanics of research. He taught me how to be curious, patient, and precise. Whether we were working as student and lecturer or side by side as colleagues, I was always treated with respect, and I had his unwavering support. Dr. Naraine will always be remembered with deep respect and fondness.
And from Wanda Hughes, having worked alongside Dr. Naraine throughout his 24-year tenure at the CFBC, I can categorically state that Dr. Leighton Naraine deservedly stands in the pantheon of those select CFBC stalwarts whose depth of wisdom, breadth of knowledge, and multiplicity of skills far exceeded the norm. And Dr. Naraine shared that wealth of wisdom, knowledge, and skills with unwavering generosity, so that we, students, staff, and faculty of the CFBC, past and present, have been and will continue to be the fortunate beneficiaries of his bounty. It was John Donne who penned the immortal lines, quote, "Death, be not proud, though some have called thee mighty and dreadful, for thou art not so. For those whom thou thinkest thou dost overthrow, die not," end quote. John Donne's muse may well have been Dr. Naraine, who dies not, but instead will live on in our collective memories. His legacy will endure for as long as the CFBC shall last. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is John Rogers. I am professor of geosciences at Mississippi State University in the U.S., and I had the privilege of being a research collaborator and good friend of Dr. Leighton Naraine. I want to share this message to honor Leighton, to reflect upon his influence on my life. He is truly a gentleman and a scholar, and one of the best people I have ever met. I first met Leighton in 2016. I reached out to CFBC to set up a collaborative study looking at climate and hydrology. And this was something that Leighton strongly believed in. He was already doing research in sustainability and climate and so on. And so we quickly developed a plan and became good and close friends. One of the first steps that we did in our collaboration was set up an exchange. So in 2018, I had students from CFBC and two faculty, Glenroy Blanchett and Dr. Quincy Edwards, with students Alexi Burrows and Nichelle Huggins, come to Mississippi State University. We looked at things like aquaculture and remote sensing and geospatial technologies and other resources that we have at this institution. We also toured the area. And in exchange, I brought students from Mississippi State University to St. Kitts. Leighton believed in the power of collaboration. He knows that CFBC is a leader in the region, and to showcase and to lead by example, he knew that showing collaboration with other institutions would be a very important part of the sustainability of the CFBC's leadership. So the second phase of our study were to deploy sensors. We deployed water measuring sensors and climate sensors across St. Kitts and Nevis. We also deployed sensors in the gut. And this was sort of a surprise to me. I didn't even envision I'd be going down into a gut when I thought I would be going to St. Kitts. But anyway, Leighton had a brilliant idea of being able to see how much water are in these guts. And so we, under his direction and having full confidence in his ideas, I climbed down into the gut while he and Kevin were at top watching. The other thing I want to mention is that Leighton often said a couple of things that I think were worth remembering. He would use the term "own the flood" quite a bit, and he was inspired by research in California that used floodwater to recharge the aquifers and reservoirs. And he believed that same principle could be applied in St. Kitts. Instead of flushing the water through the urban canals out to sea, they could use the water for recharging the aquifer and for creating reservoirs. This is brilliant, and it was such a reflection upon his belief in sustainability and using nature-based solutions. Another term he would use is significant delays. He often said that when he was speaking of some of his funded projects. The best part of the my reflection upon Leighton was the friendships. More than anything, Leighton was very inclusive. He introduced me to a lot of really great people. We had a lot of great fun. He invited me over to his house for dinner. He invited me out to parties at the Shiggity Shack or the Shipwreck. And again, he was very inclusive. And I tell my wife, I have more friends in St. Kitts than I do back home in such a short time. All that because of Leighton. And it also shows and reflects how warm and friendly people are in St. Kitts. So in closing, I just want to say it's going to be very difficult to move on without him. He was such a huge impact on my research and helping me get started. And he's certainly going to be missed. I do hope to continue his legacy. I hope to to continue doing the research on the water and maybe create the water budget. Because like Leighton, I believe that the best thing for our planet is for stewardship and sustainability. And looking at fresh water is a big step towards that. As a matter of fact, I hope one day, after completing the water budget and making significant progress on the research, I can go down to Frigate Bay, look out at the ocean, and say, Leighton, we now own that flood without significant delays. More seriously, I'm really going to miss you, Leighton. You are a huge impact on my life. I will miss you deeply, and I will forever honor our friendship. May God be with you and your family. Always. Peace.
Good afternoon, all. Allow me first to express my appreciation to the President's office for inviting me to say a few words on behalf of Dr. Naraine. It's indeed an honor to have known such a gentleman. We first met in 2013 when I assumed the presidency of the college, and we have been friends ever since. We have traveled together, we've had some wonderful times together. He has visited Nevis on several occasions, and we've had time to sit and just talk. He was indeed a gentleman amongst gentlemen. Very soft-spoken, somewhat, non-political for sure. Never want to be straying into the realm of politics. Always fearful that, he remained neutral. But we became fast friends. And I remember distinctly my first meeting with him in my office. And I said to him, Dr. Naraine, I know your title. You are in charge of curriculum development and program development. But what do you do exactly? And he looked me straight in the eyes and said, Dr. Daly, I'm not even sure what I do. I know there are things to do, and I do them. And I said, you know what? This is what we're going to do. I've been assigned to do the self-study, for the college, because at that time we were looking towards accreditation, and there was a lot to do regarding policy, collating all the policies that we had at the college, and of course creating new ones. And so I assigned him the task of working very closely with me and Dr. Rotham, designing the self-study. And we got it done. But he will come to my office just to sit and talk. And I enjoyed that very much. Because we weren't talking about academia. 90% of the time we were talking about pigs. It's funny. We were talking about pigs. He had just started really getting into his farm. And though I never visited it, I can tell you basically what it looks like. Because he was such, an astute farmer. He loved it. Many times he will call me up when I left the college, or even before I left the college. He will call me up and say, listen, there's no feed on St. Kitts, and I need some sow ration or some pig grower. And I said, you just tell me how much you need and when do you need it. And I will make sure that it was organized for him and sent down on the next available transport. He was one of the few people I could count on perhaps one hand and had fingers remaining, who kept in close touch with me after I left the college in 2016. And I appreciated that very much. I remember once we traveled to St. Lucia for a conference, and he went, not from the college directly, but he represented the Minister of Education at that point in time. And therefore, all of the privileges that were afforded the minister went to him. So here am I, his superior as president, and his junior as the minister. It was hilarious, because he was picked up at the airport and transported to accommodation. His room was just one door down from mine, and he came the evening after and said, Doc, I'm very uncomfortable with this role reversal, because here am I acting in the stead of the minister, and you're my boss. And I said, don't pay it no mind, and we had a good laugh, and I said, you're gonna, if you are really sincere about, what you're saying, let's go for dinner. Take me to dinner. I'll forgive you after you take me to dinner. And so he took me to dinner. We went to Groseley, and we had a wonderful dinner. And I said, I'm going to pay my way. He said, no, the minister is paying. He said, the minister is paying. And so it's fine, And so we had a good laugh about that. But really and truly, he was steadfast. I could point him to any program or policy that I needed help with for him to design and do all the workup, and he will do it. I said to him one time, Dr. Naraine, we don't see eye to eye on a lot of things, especially when it comes to program development and stuff like that. And he said, because you're much taller than me, you have to come down to my level. I never get over sometimes his humor. He had a dry humor, but he always got me, But he was a fantastic gentleman, and I'm not here to tell of all the great things you've done, because I'm sure that has been documented. I'm just telling you the kind of person he was. Very reliable, very soft-spoken, non-aggressive, a team player. He helped so much when we were doing the renovations at the technical college, making sure that everything was done according to the agreements. And, when I heard he had passed, it took me by surprise, because I did not even know he was ill. It is Miss Caesar, Brenda Caesar, called and told me that he had passed. And, I had to really sit down to take that in, because of late here on Nevis, since the year began, so much of my friends have passed. It's just one after another. But this one, I had to really sit down and take it in. And of course, could not miss the opportunity to send condolences to his wife, who he loved immensely. I used to joke with her and say, "You still with this guy?" And she would say, "Yes, nobody else will take him." So, I pray for her, because I know this will be a huge hole in her heart, in her life, in her children's, in their lives. What do you say to somebody of that stature passing on? And, there are few things you can say that can bring comfort, other than knowing that they have done a good deed. They have lived a life worth living. They weren't just here marking time and taking up space. They actually contributed to the growth and development of our country, of our island, and of course of the college. It's just a sad event. And I think we should be celebrating more than mourning his passing, because he made such an impact and such a great contribution to everything associated with the college. So on behalf of myself and my family, I just wish to extend the deepest condolences to the CFBC family and of course to his immediate family. May God continue to guide him through this holy place and take him in your arms forever and ever. Good afternoon.
I want to extend our gratitude to all those who delivered audio and video tributes, and certainly to the Vice President, Ms. Wanda Hughes, for her thoughtful and memorable assistance in reading the written tributes on an occasion like this. Ladies and gentlemen, I will now invite Ms. Kayla Penny, Vice President of the CFBC Student Government Association, to launch and manage the open tributes.
Good afternoon, everyone. At this time, I invite anyone who wishes to offer tributes to do so. So the mic is open.
Good afternoon to everyone. First of all, allow me to adopt the protocol that has been established earlier this afternoon and to extend my deepest condolences to the family and loved ones of Dr. Leighton Naraine. I did not know him as long as some of my colleagues. I've been an adjunct lecturer at the college since 2018 and then was asked to come on full-time in 2021. But we did speak quite frequently, and one thing that always struck me about him, because I knew of what he was involved in. And for someone who accomplished so much, he was very humble. He was extremely humble. But whenever he had a conversation with him, everything he said, every word that came out of his mouth had impact. But he carried himself with a quiet confidence, and that's something that always struck me. It is always obvious when someone has a passion about their work, and that's the case with Dr. Leighton Naraine. He was extremely passionate about what he did. And so I would say, if there's one lesson that we should take from his life, is that no matter what you're into, you may be into the natural sciences, the humanities, law, or business, be passionate about something. We are supposed to be, and I'm putting supposed to be in quotation marks because it's the state of the world right now, but we are supposed to be the most intelligent creature on the planet. So if that is the case, then for each of us as an individual, our presence on this planet should leave a mark when we're gone, beyond just what we acquire materially for ourselves. So I would argue that each of us should find something that you're passionate about, and then try to touch as many lives as you could with that passion. Try to inspire and motivate as many people as you could through your passion. That is what Dr. Naraine did for his students, for his colleagues, for people he interacted with, not only in the Federation, but throughout the region. On a lighter note, Dr. Naraine drove this lifted Toyota Tacoma pickup truck that I always admired. And every time I saw him, I would say, I love that sexy truck, and you get a big smile from him. And he and I have similar passion. We both love Jeeps and trucks. A neighbor of mine once had a house party, and she invited me, and he was at it as well. And later, I spent most of the night just talking about Jeeps, trucks, cars, anything that had wheels attached to it. So, like most of us guys, he had that side of him, to the less serious side, but he was passionate about everything he did in his professional and personal life. That's a lesson that we should take, okay? Life is short. We have no idea how many tomorrows we have, or even how many todays we have. So live your passion, put yourself into it, and try to motivate and inspire others through that passion. Again, my condolences to his wife, who I met a couple of times. Condolences to you and the rest of the family, and may he continue to rest in peace, and may he continue to inspire and motivate us individually and the college as a collective. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cameron Gill, for your inspiring and touching tribute. I now welcome Mr. Ellsworth Diamond. Give him a round of applause.
Good afternoon. Allow me to adopt the protocol and to recognize all the dignitaries who came after the official protocol was declared. Dr. Naraine's passing, much like Yuri Joseph, our administrative attendant who passed some time ago, caused me to realize that we're at a philosophical node where we have to ponder what is the purpose of death, what special messages are given to us in the CFBC family and beyond, and how does death of a colleague inform our continued professional journey. In moments like these, we naturally turn to memory. We would recall experiences we shared, the many good ones, and even those moments where we may disagree. And in our search for comfort, we hold tightly to what was pleasant, and we seek understanding where there may have been differences. That perhaps is part of our human way of trying to make peace with loss. For me, my journey with Dr. Naraine started in 2002, not just him being a respected colleague, but as someone who became a work friend. I remember visiting him at his modest $600 a month apartment in McKinley Heights. The space in that apartment was extremely small, and he was proud to show me how he meticulously organized all his CFBC work within his living space. And I remember at that time, I'm dealing with a human who has a mind that is deeply methodical, structured, and disciplined. Later, he moved to Bird Rock, and our association deepened. A few of us would gather there at his new home in Bird Rock, sharing conversation, laughter, and of course, his authentically fried Guyanese fry plantain. Those moments reveal another side of Dr. Naraine, one which is sociable, grounded, and genuinely warm. In those informal spaces, he would encourage me, sometimes gently and sometimes persistently. He wanted me to grow professionally and to improve my qualifications. And of course, he always wanted me to play golf. I must admit I found the former much easier to do and to embrace. So consequently, I was motivated to enter the Teacher Education Diploma program, where Dr. Naraine was himself a classmate, and he was a source of reassurance and collaboration. That period marked the beginning of my deeper engagement with research. Dr. Naraine guided me through my research papers, and he leaned on me as well for support later, having some expertise in Excel. I remember clearly he was doing his doctoral studies, and he wanted to develop an index that measured the level of agricultural diversity within each territory. So he wanted me to structure the data so he could come up with some sort of formula for the index. I appreciated his discipline to research, the importance of thoroughness, the distinction between the reference section and the bibliography, believe it or not. That's where I learned that from him. And above all, the necessity of cultivating a genuine appetite for reading and inquiry. And you would have heard earlier, he read a lot. In our local language, he seemed like a bookworm, but his readings were mostly around research. Now, as the years roll on, Dr. Naraine evolved from lecturer to administrator to researcher. I deeply appreciated that he respected my feedback to current or pending projects here at CFBC. Beyond this, he almost always asked if I would be willing to work with his team. Even in areas beyond the classroom, he valued my swimming abilities, and he sought my assistance to chaperone his classes on beach trips where I would swim out and I would be the eye looking for students who would be in any difficulty in the water. while my workload was pretty heavy and it prevented me from taking up many of his offers, he perpetually kept me in the loop with all of the research ventures taking place at CFBC. In fact, in this same spirit, he introduced me to the ProMAR project, and well before this project was launched, he kept me in the loop. His encouragement played a direct role in my becoming a part of the ProMAR team, a reminder of how quietly but significantly he influenced the paths of others. Now, these outlines are my chosen reminiscent accounts of a CFBC stalwart. There's quite a lot more I can recount, but if we think of a rope, at the ends, that rope has value if we see knots. So I began with the whole idea of what is death, looking at it philosophically. And I then move into some of my experiences with Dr. Naraine. Now, what we must do is take those experiences and wrap them into a purposeful loop. Leighton has left behind a clear example of commitment to research-informed practice, to discipline and organized thinking, to the careful unpacking of complex ideas, and I give him a lot of credit here. He has this ability to take complexity and make it very simple, and to connecting knowledge with purpose. And he did all of this, as you would hear, with quiet humility. That was the definition of the man called Dr. Leighton Naraine. To his family, to loved ones, to everyone who is close to him, I extend my deepest condolences. And to all of us here, perhaps the most fitting tribute we can offer is to continue walking intentionally in the positive steps that he has left behind. I thank all for this occasion to share in honoring his life, the life of Dr. Leighton Naraine.
Good afternoon. It would be remiss of me if I did not use this opportunity to pay tribute to Dr. Leighton Naraine, someone who I've had the honor and privilege of knowing for more than 10 years. My first encounter with him started when I worked at WinFM as a reporter. I would go by the college to do interviews with him on matters pertaining to climate change. He was very passionate about the sciences and anything to do with informing the public and keeping them abreast of new developments, and especially on the issue of climate change, which, as you know, is a very important issue for us. He wanted to be able to express himself in the media and to really get the message across of the importance of climate change mitigation and all the things that come with it. And ever since then, we've established a really good relationship, more than just a professional relationship. From time to time, he would invite me and my wife by his house. That's where we met his wife, Gloria. And we had some pleasant conversations. And even during the Christmas period, we would take some time out and spend some time there with him. And while talking about work, we would also use the opportunity to see the lighter side of him. And some of it was referenced here today. But what I liked about him and what I think I would take from his life and learn from him is his humility. He was a very humble person. With someone at his knowledge and skills, other people would probably be parading themselves a lot more than he would. But he was always comfortable being in the background and offering subtle and wise guidance. He was also very helpful because at around 2014 thereabouts, in my personal life, I had a really difficult situation. My father had passed away, and I was having some challenges of my own to organize my family to get to Jamaica for the funeral. And he was kind enough to helped me to make that trip possible. And I would never forget that. I'm indebted to him for his willingness to help and his willingness to be concerned about others and their needs. Professionally, we also worked together on a few projects. There was one particular project that he did through the college and which was funded by the OAS. And he wanted to have a media component to that project. And so he invited me to come on board along with Stuart Laplace, Professor Stuart Laplace, who also worked on that project. And we traveled together to Guyana, which was part of that project, and he went to other countries as well. And I remember him having a passion to say, you know what, this is something that's important, it needs to be documented properly. And he put his trust in me, his confidence in me to be able to deliver that project and to do it well. And that was a motivation for me personally. And even to this day, I will always remember him giving me that opportunity and allowing me to believe in myself, even if I didn't believe in myself. He was that kind of person. Quietly, humbly, but in a very impactful way, he would inspire you to be great and to do great things. So I'm really, really honored to have known him on behalf of my family. And my wife is here. She's also going to share briefly as well. He really was an inspiration to me, and I would like to express my deepest condolences on behalf of my family to his wife and family. He will be missed, but he left a legacy and he left a mark, not only on my life, but everyone and the students and everyone else that he came into contact with. May he rest in peace.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Kim Huey. I now wear the hat not only as wife, but as the interim president of the Guyanese Association. And I just want to say to Mrs. Naraine, our hearts are with you, and may God deeply comfort you at this time in need. I want to also say to you that on behalf of the association, the Guyanese Association, we are proud. We are proud to have someone at that rank, Dr. Leighton Naraine, serving in St. Kitts and Nevis, the same land where we live, because not so long ago there was a conversation of an award ceremony, and Dr. Leighton's name came up, and I just wanted you to know that. I had to make my plea as to why this gentleman should be awarded, because some people on the team did not know him, and so I embellished a little bit about him. And I looked across the road where the meeting was being kept, and I said to them, you see that shade house, the greenhouse over there, that hydroponics house? That is the legacy of Dr. Leighton Naraine. And then they were like, well, yes, he will be on the one of those persons to be awarded. And then when the interim committee, when we reformed, his name came up again. I just want to say we were proud of having him, someone like him, serving here, as well as at the CFBC. He surely stood out. He surely did. And may God give you that comfort that you need at this moment. Thank you.
Thank you to everyone who came forward to share their tributes to Dr. Naraine. Your words of respect, remembrance, and gratitude truly honored his life and the impact he had on all of us. We are truly grateful for each of you. Once again, thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, as a prelude to our closing in short order, we crave your indulgence as we proceed with a memorial tree planting ceremony in honor of Dr. Leighton Naraine as a lasting tribute to his life, service, and contribution to CFBC and the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. The desert rose has been chosen with care for this memorial planting because it symbolizes resilience, endurance, enduring beauty, and hope. The desert rose is a flowering shrub or small ornamental tree known for its thick stem and vibrant blooms. Its ability to thrive in harsh and arid conditions reflects its strength in adversity and its ability to flourish under pressure. In this, it mirrors Dr. Naraine's character, his steadfastness, his steadiness, discipline, and quiet but unmistakable strength. Its sturdy form suggests groundedness and substance, while its blooms speak to the grace and richness of a life that has positively touched others. Unlike a cut flower that fades quickly, the desert rose lives and blooms over time, making it a powerful symbol of lasting appreciation and enduring legacy. It therefore speaks to Dr. Naraine's service to CFBC and to the Federation, a legacy not confined to his years of service alone, but one that continues to live on in the institution, in the people he influenced, and in the standards he upheld. The plant also carries associations of renewal and new beginnings, reminding us that even in difficult terrain, life can still bloom. For this reason, the desert rose stands as a living memorial to a man whose life reflected purpose, perseverance, and impact. At this moment, I now invite Mrs. Naraine and the family to come to the front for the tree planting ceremony. And we're going to ask you to remain seated for this segment of the program. The planting of the desert rose may be viewed on the screens. Ladies and gentlemen, as we close this ceremony, I want to quote from one of my favorite writers, because Dr. Naraine was a gentleman's scholar. It's from Shakespeare, The Two Gentlemen of Verona. They do not love who do not show their love. Your presence has indicated that you really love and care for the family, and on behalf of his entire family and the family of CFBC and his friends, we want to extend our deepest gratitude for the support that you gave. As part of our cherished culture at CFBC, I want you to stand as the college prayer is read for the closing. O Lord God Almighty, you have given us power of intellect and the glory and the anguish of the choice of freedom. Give us the ability always to think and choose aright, to wisely determine our destiny and shape the lives of others. Give us the courage to use our intellect and skills for the improvement of your world. Deliver us from self-deception and delusion, from timidity and the flight from responsibility. Help us to reject the shallow, the artificial and trivial. May our efforts assist us in rediscovering those values which enrich our lives, promote our designs, and purify our minds. Grant that we may serve you with zeal, be a friend to those in need, courteous to our equals, just to those we serve, sympathetic to those in distress. For Jesus Christ's sake, amen. Now may the Lord comfort you, may he offer you support, and may he keep hope burning in our hearts. Goodbye. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.